stand in strong support for SJR 9. The reason I wanted to stand and speak on this issue because no one on this floor knows this issue more personally, more deeply than I do. So today I wanted to invite my colleagues, regardless of party affiliation, to think of what it would mean to your family, what it would do to not be able to see them, wonder if your children are being taken care of, wonder if they're being fed, if they're being comforted. We're not understanding that children are coming home from school, going home to an empty house. So many children are getting lost in the system. And I keep hearing this statement over and over again. Why don't they do it right? Why don't they become legal citizens the right way? What right way, I ask you? There is no right way when due process is not being respected. My father did come here undocumented, but he was invited by the government. The government invited him, my grandfather, and thousands of immigrants when the United States needed the workforce because we were fighting a war. So they used my father to fill in the gap, to do the work, to build bridges. He built roads. He picked the crops. But even then, when he was no longer needed, they came for him. I never got to see my teachers again. I never got to see my friends. I never got to see my neighbors. And that's not something that disappears. It is something that you carry every single day. Nonetheless, my experience is nothing compared to what is happening to our children and our families today. They're being dragged out of cars. They're being dragged out of their homes with men in full tactical gear, with machine guns drawn. When we think of public safety, and I know right now it was mentioned that we should support them, I don't think anyone on this floor could argue how strongly I have fought for the men and women in blue. They cannot argue how strongly I fought for military families, as I come from a military family myself. But when we see 5 men on top of a young man at Walmart, a U.S. citizen, not only did they attack him, but they took him away. Another young lady who went to work was picked up, literally physically lifted up in the air while she was kicking and screaming. A U.S. citizen disappeared for 2 to 3 days. That is not justice. If someone that's a U.S. citizen is picked up kicking and screaming, what chance do poor immigrant families have? We talk about laws and order, but yet people that are going into our communities are not following the laws. And most that are being picked up are being assaulted. A man who was working outside of IHOP, just cutting the grass, was thrown in the ground, hit in the head over and over again. And if a man who has 3 children that he's given to this country cannot find safety in going to work and cutting the grass and earning an honest living, what chance do any of us have? But let's not think of immigrants as others. Let's think of them as our colleagues, as our neighbors, as our friends, and as a victim's advocate, as a children's advocate, those victims of abuse. I am heartbroken. These immigration raids are bringing another layer of trauma to these poor victims. No survivor should ever have to choose between their freedom and being safe. Again, I will reiterate, we can have lawful, respectful immigration policies, but we don't have to destroy our communities in the process. I respectfully ask for an aye vote. Thank you.